Hey creative friends, welcome to my channel. And I know that sponges and beans question got you, didn't it? And you're wondering, what does sponges have to do with beans? Well, I am going to use sponges to explain about canning beans. The reason I'm doing this is because, we're in January, February, and this is the time of year people don't have big gardens, they don't have a lot of produce. So it's like where, for some reason, there's always like this huge thing about canning beans in the wintertime, because you can. So I just want to explain there is a ton of videos out there of people who dry can the beans. And don't give me any hate. I don't care what you do. I just want to give you the knowledge that you need to make an informed decision to choose the way you want to do it, okay? So when you see people who use dried beans and they fill a jar halfway full and then they fill it with water and put it in the pressure canner, people wonder, why isn't that okay? I mean, the beans turn out looking good, right? And then the recipe will tell you, the approved recipes will tell you to pre-soak them or to do the quick soak method for them. And I think that if you understand why, it might help you make a better decision about how you want to can beans for your family or for you, whatever. And as beans get older, they get tougher too. So this is also a way to mitigate that additional tough bean if it's an older bean that you're canning. So what I've got here is I've got 2 jars, and what's going to happen, these jars are going to collect the water that I have in these little pitchers, and I've got these 2 dried, hear that? They're dried sponges, and these were actually the really thin, like flat ones, but we actually had to use, I use this as a demo when we do our bean canning workshop. Anyway, these are dried, and so these represent your dried beans. Now I'm going to take one of them, and now what we're going to do with this dried bean is technically we're going to rehydrate it. We're just going to touch it a little bit, not even the whole thing. I can still feel that it's still a little bit moist on the inside. I want to this isn't all the way through. I just want to get enough liquid on there that it would represent kind of a pre-soak, because with the pre-soak, and you can see there's still some dry area. With the pre-soak, and it's not soaked all the way through. The bean isn't completely soft yet, okay? So this is your pre-soaked bean. This is your dried bean. Now let's pretend those are in your canner. I'm going to take this water and I'm going to pour it through the pre-soaked bean. Now why this is important is because the way canning works, if you've got these beans in here, or whatever item you have, whether it's in a boil water canner or a pressure canner, the times are calculated based on how long it takes the heat to penetrate the entire food product, so that the inside of that food product is that temperature for a specific amount of time in order to mitigate botulism, potential for botulism. So the heat would have to penetrate through the bean and have the inside of that bean at the temperature, like 240 degrees, for a specific amount of time in order to be considered fully processed. If you use a dried bean, it's going to take so long for the bean to just hydrate before the heat gets to the center of the bean. Therefore, the heat will not have been in the center of the bean long enough to make sure that it is a safe process. So I'm now going to use the rehydrated bean, and I'm going to pour water through it, and I'm going to stop as soon as the water comes through this sponge. We're just gonna keep pouring. Used to try to do this 2 together, and it was just a mess. Oh, okay. So that already, there's water in there. There's already water that has come through the bean. So you can see a little bit of water. See that water in there? A little bit of water. Now I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to pull the unrehydrated bean, and let's see how long this takes before water goes through it. So we're going to keep going. Okay, you see how long this is taking just to absorb the water? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, water has just come through. So you can see now it took that long for the water to get through the bean, and now you don't even have as much water in this jar. You just can't see it as well. There's not even as much water in this jar as there is in that jar. So you can see just for the length of time how long it took those to go through there. Now these sponges have already been rehydrated. When I use the super dehydrated sponges, the ones that are super thin, haven't been rehydrated at all, they take way longer. And you can see this is still not rehydrated on the ends. So if the heat had gone through here, still you have portions of the beans that are not rehydrated, whereas this one is rehydrated all the way through. And I'm going to squeeze the water out of this one. So we're going to squeeze some water out. Okay, there's water from there, and let me squeeze the water out of this one. Okay, now you can see, if you can see next to each other, you see the difference in the height of the water? I don't know if you can see that very well. These glasses have little dots in them. But do you see how this one's got way more water? If this is time, this water has been in the bean, basically, for that long. So this would be the difference in the time that the heat has been through the product. So this would be considered underprocessed and therefore at risk for botulism. So that is what I wanted to show you, a little PSA about rehydrating beans. And I feel like I should do this every single year because this is the big time of year that everybody wants to go can beans. Now that you know this, and you see the videos out there where people are just throwing dried beans in there, number one, you don't know how old those beans are. Number two, I mean, just because they absorb the water doesn't mean they've absorbed the water and the heat long enough to be safe. It just gives you information that you can now go choose to do what you want, but at least you know the why about it. So I hope that helps. I hope it helps you understand a little bit about the method of canning beans. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.